So everybody, I want to welcome you to Going Through Life on Autopilot. And I want to welcome you, our presenter, Sandra Schrook. She is the co-founder and CEO of Levelhead. For some of you that participate in our daily mindfulness sessions or you have our app, then she is the wonderful leader of it. This is her on the screen. It's her above it. She brings with us over 30 years of experience from JP Morgan Chase Bank, where she managed over 300 branches and responsible for 30,000 plus employees. And from what I hear, she was pretty great to work with there. And I love our relationship with her that we have as well. So we're very fortunate to have her working with our organization. She's got an MBA from Arizona State University. She still lives in Arizona with our president, Richard Swift, who she hasn't met yet. She's been on the lookout for him. And then she also has a doctorate in industrial and organizational psychology. And so very welcome to have you here, Sandra.
Well, thank you. I'm pleased to be here. And thank you for participating in our poll today. It looks like we've got people that are at least interested, excited, and maybe a little stressed, but isn't that the way the world is? I think that's an average day for me. So it's a little bit stressed. So as Maria said, we're here to talk a little bit about how to turn that autopilot off. I don't know about you, but there are many days I wake up and go, where did the day go? Where'd the morning go? What day is this? What month is this? Is it spring or winter or fall? And so what we're going to do today is to talk about why that happens and maybe some things that we can do about it to make our life much more meaningful. So we're going to get started this morning, this morning for me, afternoon for you, is a very brief kind of a check-in. I wouldn't necessarily call it a meditation, but just a check-in. So if I could ask you, and most of the folks on here, I remember seeing you before in some of our sessions, so you know the drill. So just take a few moments, put your feet on the floor or whatever is comfortable for you. Then decide whether you want to close your eyes, place your glance away out into, if you've got something wonderful to look at, but if you'd like to close them, whatever is comfortable. Then just take a moment to see how it feels to sit in your chair. Just kind of notice, move yourself around a little bit. And when you get comfortable, take a moment and take a deep breath. Breathing in, breathing out. You may notice that your shoulders kind of relax a little bit and you're starting to feel a little more comfortable as you continue with your breath. Then take a moment and just do a quick check-in with your thoughts. What are you thinking? What are those things that are kind of circulating in your head? And perhaps it's background noise to whatever is going on with you around you. Are those thoughts about what's happening after this, what you didn't get done, something that happened right before? My guess is it kind of most of our thoughts fall into those kind of categories. And when you have a chance, consider those thoughts without judging them and just simply say, not now. I have something else to do. And when you're ready, just check into your body. You don't need to necessarily do a complete scan, but just what stands out to you in terms of something that feels a little more tense. For me, it's my shoulders. So I'm going to take a deep breath into my shoulders, breathing in, and I'm going to allow that tension just to float away. I'm going to take a few more breaths and allow things to kind of settle down. Now let's turn into how we're feeling. Just as we did that quick check-in, can you see a shift from where you were before? Where is it moving? Where are your emotions? Can you softly hold them in your awareness without allowing them to kind of consume you? Now let's take a check-in on all of those things. Let's take a check-in of our body, how we're feeling. our emotions, our thoughts. And when you're ready, turn your attention back to the presentation, and we'll get started in just a moment. Okay, my guess is everybody's back with us. Here's what we're going to do today. And I'm estimating the presentation will take about 20-25 minutes. Give us plenty of time to ask questions or comments or anything that resonated with you. You might even want to take a quick note or two so you can remember what it is or a comment that you'd like to make. We've just completed our little brief mindfulness practice, and hopefully that got your attention back to, you can pay attention to what you've taken time to do for yourself. So congratulations for that. We're going to take a little bit of time on what it really means to be on autopilot, and what that has to do with our brain, and why we tend to be in this place most of the time, despite our best intentions. We'll explore the benefits and the risks. It's not all bad to be on autopilot, but when do we get in trouble when we stay there too long? And then some things that we can do today to take control of our attention, as well as some longer term things that we can start working towards. Just as we just completed our mindfulness practice, and I love this quote, because we may never quite be where we actually are, never quite in touch with the fullness of our possibilities. I never really thought about this as much until I started talking about autopilot. And really what this is meaning is that our bodies are always in the present. It doesn't have the ability to time travel yet. We are here in the here and now, but our mind can go anywhere, and it likes it. It will travel back, it will travel forward, it will dance between the two, and then maybe when it's forced to, it'll join the present. So what is autopilot? Well, I think we know it when we see it, acting without thinking about what we're doing, and usually because we've done something many, many times before. I mean, a good example of this is when driving the car, making dinner, all of those kinds of things. And the fact of the matter is, we've done all those things many, many times before, and so they're habit. They're deeply ingrained. We do not have to think about it. Researchers have found, and there's some really interesting studies on this, about how much time we're not mentally present. And it's about 50% of the time. And the sad state of this is, when we're not mentally present, it's like what's going on around us didn't happen. It doesn't record, just like we're recording this video today. It'd be like we didn't hit the record button. It just didn't happen. It's only maybe, it didn't even happen, maybe only those around us know that it even occurred. So what's it like? Here are the things I just touched on. We don't remember driving home from work. I think that happened to me 99% of the time. This is the one my husband often says. He has to repeat to me what he just said, and vice versa. We've always had, "Are you not listening to me?" Well, they may have heard me, but they really weren't listening. We have trouble remembering the day. And sometimes we'll blurt out something because we don't have control of our attention, and we later regret it. It may have been something we were thinking, and it may have come across as nonsensical, or we have to retract something we've said. So why does this happen? Well, it's back to the two systems of the brain. There's actually something called the default system, which is where the autopilot lives. This is where our emotions are. It's where our habits live. It's effortless. It's comfortable. It's where we can make quick judgment decisions. It's also where our mind wanders, ruminates, our ability to imagine occurs. It is also, we have instant reactions to things based on habits and experiences. Thank goodness we don't have to deliberately decide to put the brake on the car. We know to do that. We don't have to think about it. It's a reflex. However, the downside of this is where stress and anxiety lives. It is very rare, unless we're facing a life-threatening situation, where we're stressed in the present. Most of the time, the present is a very stress-free place. The direct system is the intentional system. You may know this is where mindfulness lives. It's the rational thinking. It's very intentional. It's very direct. We experience all of our senses this way: smell, taste, feel, hear, see. And it requires effort to turn on because we like it over in autopilot and default system, because the brain is basically lazy. We're not lazy, but that brain really likes living in here, these well-worn systems where neural pathways have developed since the day we were born. So when we go switch to real-time processing, the happening now, we have to be very purposeful, very intentional, and very aware, because we'll jump back over to the default system. The good news of it is we can train our attention to notice when we're there and we don't want to be. And I think when I first started studying the science of mindfulness, I had the idea that it was always bad for us to be being on autopilot or ruminating or dreaming of those things. And that's not true. But the importance of our training is to detect it and be able to turn it off when we need it and want it to. It also is a way that we can prevent making errors by heightening our awareness to when we're on autopilot. And also, when the direct system is activated and our senses are activated, we're happier. Our emotions tend towards the positive end of the spectrum. So why did this happen? Why did the brain develop this way? Well, the people who study, the neuroscientists study these things, say it was an evolutionary protection mechanism that keeps us from overloading, blowing up our systems. Just think about how many thousands of decisions we would have to make to walk across the room if we had to tell our body to do every step, if we had to tell our body how to pick up a glass to take a drink, if we had to go to the grocery store and deliberately think about every single thing we had to do. It allows us to do those things and be able to build habits. It's also a way to recharge and build momentum for what we're doing. I love doing this. I love balancing between going a very mindful, a very direct kind of relaxation to a daydream. A daydream is a beautiful place to be, to go outside and actually switch from back and forth to look at the greens, to look at the texture, and then dream about what this would be if this were in a different location. Our brain has amazing capabilities for if we choose to use it. And again, being a creature of habit's not a bad thing. Our routines serve us well, except when they don't. So what's bad about it? Well, first of all, as the title of this webinar indicated, is sleepwalking through life's pivotal moments is not a good thing, where important things occurred and we can't even remember it. I had an opportunity to go to a concert this past weekend, and it was amazing to me. Of course, I haven't been in a while, like all of us. You know, everybody's recording it. My guess is they have no idea. They'll never look at that recording. They had no idea what was happening around them, as opposed to being completely immersed into the situation. And it'll be really would love to do a study on that. If anybody ever goes back and does that, probably the only thing they do is post it or take snippets of it and prove they were there. Also, the science is very strong, particularly in the medical field, as a matter of fact, is that being on autopilot, going through habits, is where we make errors and mistakes. And actually, really bad things happen. And I don't know about you, my husband got into a fender bender over the weekend. I am quite sure he wasn't paying attention when he backed out of his parking spot. He's probably thinking about where it was going next. Errors happen when our mind is somewhere else. It says impairs decision making, but I would also, probably a better word for that is it sub-optimizes our decision making. Because when we're on autopilot, we typically will go to solutions that we've always used, as opposed to being more creative and thinking more globally and taking how this situation is different or how we can make it better than the last time were confronted with this situation. Creativity lives in daydreams, right? But also, what are you going to do with it? You daydreamed it. Now, how are you going to take action? So coming out of that and being able to see how that points you in a very intentional way is a way our direct system works. Emotional spirals. I don't know about you, but when you get an idea something is bad or wrong, or somebody said something, you can allow yourself to go down that negative spiral. As opposed to when we're really experiencing the current moment, we can deliberately spiral ourselves out of that and actually go up into positive emotions. The saying is that a human mind is a wandering mind, and a wandering mind is an unhappy mind. I would say not always, but most of the time. All right, so let's have a little self-reflection. And it's instead of doing a poll, because I think this is probably something personal, and I'm going to ask, this is just for you, just pull out a piece of paper or whatever way you'd like to record this, and we're going to go through these questions slowly and allow you to think about them. Be as honest as you possibly can. And as you list this, just put down A, no, that's not me, a little like me, and C, yep, that's me. And then it'll provide you a little roadmap for where you'd like to place your focus. So first of all, I have no enthusiasm for the day. Well, I would change that and perhaps say most days or some days, and just able to have an honest response to that. Does it feel mundane? Does each day follow the same predictability? Do you have the same exact patterns, the way you start the day, the middle of the day, the end of the day? And then the third thing is, I can do things without thinking. And it's probably not as black and white as that, but again, do you find that most of the thing you can do without thinking at all? Perhaps even your job sometimes. I can't put down my phone. Well, we can, but we really like it. Give your honest response to that one. I stay in deep thought. And one of the things about this you might say is, do people often say to you, you look upset, or are you okay? Because my guess is that wherever it is that our thoughts are taking us is probably not to a place that's positive and is showing on our body, which is in the here and now. I have difficulty with my memory. Almost everyone who's ever said that to me, upon close examination, has found there's absolutely nothing wrong with their memory. They're just simply spending way too much time in their head, and they're not recording what's going on around them. I can't seem to let go. And what's implied around this is, how often do you find yourself thinking that same thought over and over again? And when that thought leaves you, you pick up another one, and it goes round and around and around in your head. I'm not making meaningful progress. Fill in the blank to what that means. Whatever it is important for you, do you find that you're just going through the day and your routines and you're not making strides towards what's going to be important or your goals, your purpose? The next one is, I say yes more than I say no. Well, the first implication that would be yes should be a good thing, except when we pile up things that overloads us and keeps us from moving towards things that are important to us. It becomes a habit, saying somebody will ask you to take on another assignment or your family asks you to do more, and you just say yes without even thinking about it, and then having to come back and say, I don't want to do that. Why did I say yes? That's another indication of living on autopilot. And then kind of finally, do you at the end of the day sometimes can say to yourself, I know there's a better way to live. And I'm going to do something about it. Please try not to judge yourself as you answer these questions, but try to be honest about it. So just take a moment and kind of glance down at your list and consider what things stood out to you. Perhaps, and my guess is most of these questions won't apply to everyone. There might have been one or two of these that you go, aha, yeah, maybe that's something that really resonates with me. You know, it's not uncommon for us to spend most of our lives waiting to start living. Well, I'll work on that tomorrow. I'll really get after my goals tomorrow. I won't say yes and overload myself so much tomorrow. Or I'm not going to automatically respond to people tomorrow. Not today. So here's 5 things that we can do right away. That will, and I think our first response to a big problem or the way our brain is wired to say, I'm going to fix this. But the fact of the matter is, a few things can go a long way. First of all, wake up mindfully. And it could be something as simple as something like my routine, which is every single morning. When I open my eyes, I'm very grateful that they're open. I'm here to be able to enjoy another day. Always, always, I say thank you. Just a simple thank you. Then I take my opportunity to do my purposeful stretch. You can call it a yawn, a stretch, or whatever it is. And I can't get out of bed without doing those 2 things. But for you, it may be having that first sip of coffee, really enjoying it, or your tea or your water, or giving someone you love a hug. Whatever that is, establish a ritual. And remind yourself that the day is more than what you have to do. The day is how you feel, what your goals are. Which leads to the next thing, set the intention for the day, which is how do you intend to lead through your goals? It's not what you have to do, it's the way you're going to do it. What's the emotion or the intent behind every action? My intention for today is to approach people with more kindness. My intention is to pay more attention to what my children are saying to me. Whatever it is for you, and I would make sure that once you've checked in, that it might not be the same thing every day. And that's okay. And it probably shouldn't be. The third thing is take the scenic route. Now, what this is implied behind this is change a pattern. If the first thing you do every morning is to take a walk, maybe change it to the afternoon, or take a different route on your way to work. Tie your shoes differently. Try putting your clothes on using your non-dominant hand. Anything, brush your teeth with anything that would make you realize that you don't have to live your life on autopilot. It's kind of a fun exercise to do. Enjoy whatever it is, and perhaps you can see the sun shining through the leaves as it is on this picture. Connect with others. Is it when someone speaks to you, maybe it's your intention for the day, is that you're going to stop whatever's going on in your head, stop it, and pay attention to what they have to say and really connect. Perhaps the right thing to do is to listen, but it might also be a good idea to ask them how they are and ask them, no, really, how are you? And you know what? Most people will tell you. And what a wonderful gift you could give someone to allow them to share that with you. And you'll feel good too. The final one, which is my special one, is to connect with nature. Between almost every time I get up out of my desk, I walk outside. Now, I live in Arizona, so I realize it may not be so wonderful for wherever you are. It might be raining, snowing, or whatever. But looking out the window will do just as well. Or looking at a picture to remind you of nature all around us and that we're part of it. So getting off autopilot isn't this big rewiring thing you have to do. You can start with very small things. I wouldn't even suggest you do all 5 of these. I would suggest pick one. And if you have one, my guess is many of you have done these kinds of things for periods of time. Go back and revisit it, because it is a way to rewire your brain a small piece at a time. And when you're ready to take on the big thing, and frankly, I would not say ask question to what do you want your whole life to be? What do you want your life to be in a year? Just simply as that, and just what comes up for you. This might be a wonderful reflection for you to do at the end of the day when you get a break or taking a walk. For me, a walking meditation is the best. And so what I do is I like to insert something like this is, what do I want my life to be? Or what in a year or a month or whatever time horizon that works for you. And just let it go and see what comes up for you. Then go back and revisit it. It's highly unlikely the answer is going to come up the first time you ask yourself the question. It might be something personally you want, or it might be something professionally. And I think the key here is to be able to compare to where your life is now to where you want it to be, and be honest, and maybe you're not there yet, as opposed to saying this is good enough. It could be worse. Last week, I had someone visiting me from out of town, and the poor man, visiting my husband, I should say, although it ended up me taking care of him. He hurt his back. He got into, I don't know what happened, but something happened on the airplane. He twisted something. So instead of a week of golf, he ended up a week on my sofa with me bringing him things and taking care of him, which was fine. And so he kept, whenever I would ask him, I said, was empathizing with him. I knew how badly he felt. He couldn't play golf and go to the Phoenix Open and some other things he wanted to do. And every time he would look at me, he would say, well, it could be worse. And I heard it so much that I wanted to say to him, because I started talking about what he wanted to do to not have this reoccurring problem with his back. And so it occurred to me as gently as I could. I said, but you know what? It could be better too, right? So sometimes we look at our lives and we say, that's good enough, and are afraid to say that we want more. Because it's not as bad as other people's, or it could be worse. But to honestly say, what do I want my life to be like? And not settle for just what is. And then what can you do about it right now? Right? For example, in my friend who was here, I wanted to say to him, you know what? Why don't we do these few things? And frankly, I didn't feel as though I could do that, but I wanted him to have an honest discussion at some point when I called him later after he got home, and I said, what are the things that you can do right now so that this doesn't occur again, right? So that you can have your life with full mobility and not worried about hurting your back. What are the baby steps you can do? His case, he could go to the doctor and really ask what's going on and what's wrong. But whatever those baby steps are for you, find time to get at least one of them done. And then the final thing is that, and I do this comparison all the time against my goals. I said, how did I spend my time today compared to where those things that would help me get to what I'm doing? And almost always there's a list of things that I have to decide that I'm not going to do anymore if I'm going to move towards my goals and take action on it. So here's a couple things before we kind of ask for comments. And I apologize, my little tiny dog who has a hurt eye is snoring in the background. Hopefully that's not too annoying for you, but I can't put her in another room right now. But the fact of the matter is, there's a couple of things that you need to be aware of. If you take on the challenge of trying to reduce the impact of autopilot on you, first of all, have patience and pace yourself. Reason why I showed the slide on the brain is it's not you, it's your brain that puts you on autopilot. You want to be intentional, but that brain likes it there. And remember this slow change, routines change slowly. We do not like to change. We will do anything to change, not have to do this. Autopilot feels at home. Why do we not like to go out of our way or change a different route? Because it's comfortable. It might even be a better route, but we don't care. We like it because that's the way we've always done it. It's like when you have to make something to a different recipe or to someone ask you to change the way you do something. It's a very uncomfortable feeling. And living intentionally feels difficult for a while until we can get things reestablished. And it's okay to return to autopilot occasionally because it is hard work. And the best way to really engage in the present moment is to find something that excites you, energizes you. It could be learning something new. It could be doing something with your family, anything. Or find something aspect of your work that makes you, that excites you and energizes. See if you can do more of it. The final thing I would say is time moves onward and your life will unfold whether you steer it in the direction you want it to or not. It's going to move. So you may as well turn off the autopilot, turn on the direct pilot, and drive the car of your life. Isn't that awful? That's an awful analogy, but it kind of feels that way. All right. We're going to stop. Oh, hold on a second. I got a couple more slides here before we turn it back over. First of all, just as a reminder, I think everybody, I was looking at some of the names here. I think most of you know that you have access to the Levelhead app, which has over 300 different exercises that'll help you get off autopilot and live the life you want. And if you're not signed up for it, it's free benefit you get through H&E. And this gives Sue, drop her an email and she'll get you all set up with an activation code to download the program. Plus, join Maria and others on the daily mindfulness practices. Maria, do you want to jump in there and make a comment about those?
Yeah, sure. They're just held daily. Most of you guys already are joining them, but they are held every day, 10:15 and 3:15. And if you want to just simply add it to your calendar, just go to the mindfulness tab on the company's SharePoint page, click on the link, and it will be automatically uploaded to your calendar. So hope we see more faces.
Awesome. And if an app is not your thing, you like to hold a book, I wrote one for you, and it's actually geared towards the pandemic and all the things that are happening to us, and actually many of the outcomes that we had foreshadowed when we started the journey of this pandemic. Those of us who study these things are actually happening today, and some of the consequences. But this will give you some real examples of how you can move past that. All right. With that, I think we're going to stop sharing here and see if anybody has a comment or a suggestion or question. Everybody's on autopilot right now. No, we're in deep thought.
Well, if we don't have anything, I want to say thank you so much. This was very informational. And they're just, Cynthia in the chat said great presentation. And I personally learned a lot of stuff. I need to not say yes so much.
I know you do, Maria.
Yeah. So yes, thank you so much. And thank you everybody for coming. And we'll have the recording available if anybody wanted to rewatch it or, go back through it. But thank you so much, Sandra. And have a great day, everybody.
It was my
Thank you.
pleasure. Good to
Thank
see your
you.
names again. I didn't see your faces, but good to see your names.
Thank you. Take
Take
care.
care.
Bye.
Bye.